The Nintendo DS was revolutionary. It's as easy as time moves on to overlook the importance of a system when it comes to the wider popular culture. But for Nintendo, the DS was easily one of the most important steps in the video game giant's history. The device isn't unbelievable because of its innovative dual screens or touch controls, but because of its overall ease of access and just how easy it was to develop games for. This meant hardcore gaming fanatics and casual noob-turned gamers could all rejoice together in perfect harmony across the DS's lifespan. It appealed to both players young and old, and welcomed many new people into gaming with its massive library of games. Speaking of which, we've got some all new facts for you from DS Classics, but first, some new info on Halo DS. With the DS's popularity, it's no surprise that other companies, who would usually compete with Nintendo, took interest. And Xbox was one of them. Having created titles for the GBA already, the company looked to continue this unexpected support with the DS, and their affiliated studios pitched Xbox their ideas for various dual-screen outings. In 2007, IGN editor Matt Casamassina wrote that he played a Halo game for the DS, but a few months later, Bungie devs denied ever making said game. Halo fans badgered Casamassina for the next year, many accusing him of making the whole thing up for clicks, until he finally proved his claim by playing Halo DS on camera.
We're going to talk about a little game called Halo DS. Once upon a time there was this game that was in development. It wasn't created by a garage developer. It was actually done by a major studio, major publisher, AAA publisher. And at one time they were really hoping to bring it out. Unfortunately, for reasons we can't discuss, it never came to be. Obviously, you're not playing it right now. However, we are. Yeah, and we figured there was a lot of doubt about this game, whether or not it really existed, and we figured what better way to, shed some light on that than just to show it to you. So we're going to do that now.
Eagle-eyed fans noticed the game's similarity with GoldenEye Rogue Agent, the first FPS ever released on the handheld. So a theory emerged that Halo DS was made by the same team at N-Space. With only 50 employees, they weren't exactly AAA, but otherwise N-Space being the devs seemed plausible. That theory was unconfirmed for the past 15 years, but we got in contact with a couple of N-Space devs who said it was true. One wanted to remain anonymous, but said, "Yeah, that was us, probably late 2005, early 2006. It was much more than a GoldenEye mod though, with a lot of effort and care taken to craft something that looked, sounded, and felt like Halo." IGN's few seconds of gameplay only showed a version of Halo 2's multiplayer map Zanzibar. The anonymous dev told us that they remember there was also a single-player map not seen in the IGN footage. We asked if Halo DS was going to be a handheld version of Halo 2 or its own unique experience. He said, "In these kinds of pitches you want to keep all options on the table, but every other game N-Space made back then were original works and not ports. So Halo DS probably would have followed suit." Halo DS VFX artist Jim Inciello was willing to go on record and told us a few more details, some that weren't previously known, like that it had 6-player multiplayer, drivable vehicles like warthogs and ghosts, grunts who shot blasters and threw grenades, and elites with one-hit kill energy swords. The demo was made in a pretty short time frame, so it would have been a lot more if it became a full game. N-Space put a team of about 5 guys on the project for approximately 3 months and then pitched it to Bungie and Microsoft. It's long been believed that they rejected the pitch, but the truth is, they actually approved it. Jim told us, "The sad part is that the game was almost greenlit, but about a month after it got approved on the Microsoft Bungie side, it was Nintendo that shut it down. There was speculation that they were unwilling to front some advertising money on a first-party development side, just as they had originally done with Geist, a GameCube game N-Space developed and Nintendo published a few years earlier. But we wound up needing Nintendo's help finishing Geist, so maybe they were a bit annoyed at us." Still, Halo DS would have sold in the millions as a portable online multiplayer in 2006. With the benefit of hindsight, Halo DS probably would have sold like gangbusters, since the DS went on to sell over 150 million units and became the second best selling system of all time. No one could have known that was going to happen back in 2006 though, not even Nintendo. If they had, maybe they would have fronted the funding N-Space needed, and who knows, with Halo on DS, maybe Master Chief would be in Smash Bros. By now. With all that backstory established, that leaves one last question. Would Halo DS have been any good? Casamassina said the demo was, quote, pretty good. The devs we talked to acknowledged that the DS wasn't the ideal system for FPSs, mostly because it lacked analog sticks. N-Space's other DS shooters received fairly average reviews, 7 out of 10s mostly, and this game probably would have scored similarly. Halo DS was on course to be a decent game with an original campaign, Wi-Fi multiplayer, and very importantly, it would have felt like Halo.
But there you go. It's, it's Halo. It plays like Halo. Looks like Halo. Sounds like Halo.
Unfortunately, it never got past the prototype stage, so N-Space ended up making Call of Duty DS games instead. Half a decade later, some of the same guys worked on another Halo game, codenamed Project Hagar, for the Xbox 360, aimed at a younger audience, but it ended up being canned as well. We've got more exclusive DS facts coming up, but first a word from this video's sponsor, Encore. Encore is a new way to buy and sell retro games with trust, thanks to its community of real collectors. Think of it like TikTok mixed with an auction house where collectors post short videos of the games and hardware they're selling. No sketchy listings, just real gameplay footage, honest descriptions, and even live chat on auctions. Shopping's as easy as swiping through buy it now deals or video auctions lasting anywhere from 10 minutes to 7 days. You can place a bid in seconds, set a max bid and let the app handle the rest, or save auctions to get an alert when 5 minutes remain. Encore takes safety seriously. Every seller is ID verified, and the Encore guarantee protects you if an item arrives not as described. And don't miss the giveaways. Scroll down the home screen and enter one entirely for free. If you win, Encore will ship your game to you for free as well. Bring friends into a giveaway by sharing the link and you'll get 5 extra entries, boosting your odds. To check out Encore for yourself, download the app on iOS or Android using our QR code on screen or link in the description and start hunting for hidden gems today. And now, back to the trivia. Making a hit game can be difficult in itself, and even when you've pulled it off and now you have a solid foundation, making a sequel can sometimes be even harder. After all, trying to expand upon or outdo a hit game can be quite the challenge. In our search for trivia, we stumbled upon an interview with the developers of Mario & Luigi: Bowser's Inside Story. The interview is from the March 2009 issue of Japan's Nintendo Online magazine, which we had translated into English. Within, former writer and game designer for Alpha Dream, Hiroyuki Kubota, expressed that he felt a degree of uncertainty about how he'd create a new gameplay experience on the same hardware as the game's previous entry, Mario & Luigi: Partners in Time. Many of Kubota's existing ideas had already been completely exhausted after Partners in Time, but he was still limited to the same control inputs and specs. The pressure was on. The team initially envisioned Bowser as one to attack by jumping on his enemies, but they chose to focus on his fire-breathing technique instead, along with regular punching attacks. This was because the team wanted to put emphasis on the dynamism between the King of the Koopas and the Mario Brothers, giving both a distinctly different moveset. Part of the initial proposals for the game was that Bowser would become gigantic, but how this would be visually portrayed within the game was a tough act. One of the original ideas was that rather than making the Bowser sprites become larger, they considered simply shrinking the backgrounds, but they didn't find this option to be particularly impactful. Other struggles amongst the team included the late development decision to introduce vertical orientation for giant Bowser battles. The choice for this new orientation resulted in panic amongst the team. From a technical perspective, they found it tough getting Bowser's movement to look smooth and dynamic, and wrestled with degrees of graphical compromise, like having rougher outlines on the sprite when they rotated to maintain decent performance on the handheld. At first, a designer from Nintendo, Tomomi Sano, took on the duty of creating the graphics for Giant Bowser as a result of staff shortages, making a rare occasion of collaboration between Nintendo, the game's publisher, and the development studio for the game, Alpha Dream. Several interesting elements were cut from the game too. A number of enemies can be found within the game's data which went unused as a result of the overall vibe not fitting within the game's concept of inside Bowser's body. Despite being interesting designs, they simply wouldn't fit with the general concept of the game's plot, so they wound up going unused. One concept that wound up being left completely abandoned relates to how Bowser would have been utilized in gameplay. It was initially conceptualized that Bowser would take on the form of a sort of tank, or Zord for you Power Rangers fans out there, while Mario and Luigi would steer his body. The team further developed on the idea of Mario and Luigi being inside his body to be able to better utilize Bowser as a character, with his personality and behavior shining through. With this in mind, the team put extra effort to make sure Bowser didn't take on the form of a full-blown ally for the plumbing duo, making sure to maintain his role as the primary rival of the series, but also ensuring that his goals aligned with those of the Mario brothers. According to Kubota, there wouldn't be much of a plot if Mario and Bowser had different goals. The first idea was to have Mario and the rest use Bowser like a tank. The story about being sucked inside his body came as an end result of trying to figure out how to use Bowser as a character. The game's producer, Akira Otani, added that we were coming up with ideas with Alpha Dream on how to avoid breaking with Bowser as Mario's rival. The hardest part was keeping it from being a game where you become friends with and cooperate with Bowser. Inside Story's difficulty was clearly a huge part of the team's refinement efforts. The devs wanted to ensure that the game was accessible to new players, but also offered a challenge to those with experience. Kubota said, with the difficulty level, it took the longest time to balance it in any game in the series. We had a lot of people play it and fill out surveys, then responded to everything they were dissatisfied with, so I think it ended up the most well balanced as well. As the creators, we're used to it so it isn't difficult anymore, but that's not the case for customers playing for the first time. And it seemed like Iwasaki, who was in charge of battles, had a lot of stress, so we had him make the Battle Coliseum as an outlet to relieve his stress. Only a few people in the company can beat it. The bosses that appear in the story are mainly ones that have to be beaten to finish the game, but I wanted to leave in the fun that comes with facing harder bosses. Another point of consideration was how the team were going to depict the internal anatomy of Bowser. When it comes to the internals of any character, it's easy to go too hard in terms of realistic designs, leading to unsettling feelings and grotesque detail. Instead of going for a realistic look for the character's innards, the team opted to utilize a bright pop art style that remained consistent with the overall Mario universe. Background graphics lead Koichi Fukuzawa made sure to focus on creating the environments within Bowser's body to be both visually appealing but also fitting for the location, avoiding overtly lifelike details such as bones or blood vessels. While Bowser's inside story could have wound up being a little more gross with its details, one game that lets the grossness take center stage was freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, a title that many US gamers never had the opportunity to play as it was released in English but wasn't published in the United States. We have unearthed details about the game from a pretty weird 10-page developer interview that we had translated from another issue of Nintendo Online Magazine from September 2006. The interview reveals fascinating insights into this quirky title's development, like how work began in 2003 with a rather unconventional pitch that fell flat. As developer Suda explains, "At first, I proposed a character that wanders around half asleep, and I felt that Nintendo gave me a cold stare at that. The project found its footing when the team struck upon a unique gameplay hook." Producer Kensuke Tanabe recalls, "We felt forced to put out something similar to previous games, and as we were hardening on it being in the RPG genre, the topic came up of, wouldn't it be fun if you could solve everything with money? And at that, the sluggish mood of the meeting turned to excitement. This money-centric approach became the game's core concept. Rather than following traditional RPG progression, where characters grow stronger through experience, Tingle was designed as a character who doesn't really grow at all, instead taking advantage of people's desire for rupees to hire mercenaries and gather information. Early development discussions ventured into even stranger territory. Planner Jun Suda revealed, "At first, we also talked about Tingle capturing people in the town, making them wear Tingle clothes inside his Tingle house and forcing them to work. People were hung up or sat down in chairs or forced to do various jobs." During these discussions, the game was still being considered for release on the Game Boy Advance before focus transitioned over to the Nintendo DS, a decision that extended the development quite considerably. This long development was marked by frequent changes in Nintendo's supervisors, introducing a certain level of instability and distrust. Mari Shirakawa, who became the 6th supervisor on the project, recalled a frosty reception at developer Van Pool. "When I first came to Van Pool, it was a pretty harsh reception, like, who the hell are you?" As with any game involving some pretty crazy concepts, not every wild idea made it into the final release. Designer Kazuyuki Kuroshima shared one particularly bizarre cut concept. The chef is just in town in the final game, but at first we had it so he was buried in a field with only his chef's hat sticking out. And when Tingle pulled it away, he got angry and said, "I was trying to learn how vegetables felt." It wasn't just unconventional gameplay concepts considered for the title, but also a number of marketing strategies that would reflect the money-driven themes of the game. Director Taro Kudo said, "We had a lot of ideas for selling the game itself, like making the price not 4,800 yen, but 5,000 rupees, and you'd have to use Nintendo Club points to buy it." They also contemplated splitting the game into multiple versions, parodying Pokemon's dual releases with titles like Freshly Picked Tingle Left and Freshly Picked Tingle Right, or even North, South, East and West. This was likely a way of poking fun at the money-driven tactic of selling two Pokemon games to die-hard fans instead of combining everything into one, a somewhat grounded and comical take on the company's own money-centric decision-making. Considerations were made regarding Tingle's design within the game's release, especially for the Western audiences who had demonstrated a noteworthy distaste of the character in the earlier Zelda games. The team understood that many Western fans weren't keen on Tingle as a whole, even claiming that many American players actually hated the fanciful fairy. Tanabe wanted American Zelda fans to come to accept him in whatever way he could, which led to special attention being given towards the graphics and other characters within the game being more palatable for Western tastes. The game's distinctive voice acting came from an unexpected source. Kuroshima himself provided Tingle's voice after Kudo's initial attempts were deemed insufficient. At one point there was even a rejected concept to have Kuroshima use his normal speaking voice as Tingle's design temporarily resembled the artist. Whether that is something Kuroshima should feel honoured about or not is really up to you. Development for the game took place within Vanpool's rather modest office space. When Shirakawa was first introduced to the offices, she was quite surprised, and initially mistook it for somebody's house instead of a game development studio. It is a result of this more intimate team environment that Vanpool's distinctive style could flourish. As Suda explained, "Our way of doing things is to look at each other in the face when we make things." This casual atmosphere sometimes led to culture shock, as Shirakawa recalls being surprised by team members wearing shorts to meetings. "I was so nervous at first and wore a dress I prepared, and I was greeted by leg hair." The game's distinct visual style was extended beyond the title itself and also landed with the supplemental material that came with it. Comics and skits were specifically designed to look as though they were homemade and cheap, with multiple artists being brought on to contribute. The team wanted to make sure they prioritized fun within the product as a whole. Not an overly refined Nintendo product, but something that had many people having fun with it behind the scenes. While the creation of Tingle's rosy Rupee Land was riddled with chaos, something that one should probably come to expect with anything involving Tingle, Kuroshima's dedication was evident as he even jokingly complained, "I'll be thinking of new material while I'm pissing blood every week." Through all the challenges, Vanpool managed to create a game that balanced the company's unique style and Nintendo's expectations, resulting in perhaps one of the DS's more distinctive titles. Did you also know about the Super Nintendo CD and Satellaview add-ons that were awesome hardware concepts but ultimately ended in failure? Special thanks to our translator Jacob, of course, and thank you for watching. And if you just can't get enough of these dulcet tones, be sure to check me out over at twitch.tv/wrongendofthecrayon, where I stream a variety of games and just generally have a chill time. I hope to see you there.